OpenAI released the Whisper API a week or so ago, and I looked at working on something using it, and there was like obviously some very useful, serious kind of stuff that you can do. But for now, I want to show something more fun. And so, do you have people in your team that just, all they contribute to the meeting is jokes? And didn't you want to be a person like that? It's hard to, come up with jokes all the time, but what if there was a tool that could help you? Voila, we have a tool like that. So to demo it, I'm gonna play the JFK Moon speech, the famous speech, and we're gonna use AI to make jokes along the way. All right. So let's kick that off, and then I'm gonna play the speech on my phone so you can hear it, and you should see the jokes as the AI figures those out. All right, here we go.
We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelters.
All right, so I'll stop right here. I think that's an amazing speech, obviously one of the best ones ever. So I'll show how this thing works. And as you can see, it said a bunch of jokes along the way. And obviously, like I said earlier, I did jokes because it's fun to play with, but you can do a lot of interesting things with embeddings and connecting to external content. But I'll show you how this works, and any of the other serious stuff should follow a similar pattern. So I'm using threading here. So I have the main loop where I'm constantly listening for the incoming audio, and I am transcribing that audio using Whisper, which is pretty straightforward. And then once I have a transcribed piece of text, I'm adding that into a queue. And then I have another thread that's constantly removing items from the queue, and then doing a bunch of the fun prompts to get GPT to come up with useful answers. And this is where you would plug into other sort of things like embeddings and chains to do more powerful things. But anyway, so so pretty straightforward. You just dequeue from the queue and then construct your prompt that you hit GPT with. So for example, to get a joke, I just say, hey, you're a dad joke assistant, reply with a funny dad joke. Obviously, you can expect more different kinds of prompts for if you're trying to do Q&A or so on. The other thing I have going here is because I'm recording audio for every 5 seconds. So what you end up getting as transcribed text is just, broken sentences. So I had to tackle that by creating a buffer, and I'm creating a buffer that holds on to the last 10 transcribed sentences that we have. And then I'm using that buffer and summarizing it again using GPT, and then taking that summarized text and then giving it to the dad joke thing. So I think this pattern of collecting a buffer of text, I think, is also critical for all of similar kind of applications, because like I said earlier, you're receiving these transcribed pieces of text, and by themselves, it's hard to know what the speaker is saying. But if you have a buffer where you've collected like 10 or 15 of them, then you have more idea of what is being talked about. And then you can run that whole thing to summarization to really have a tighter version of what the person was just talking about. And then you can take the summary and shoot it to something else, Q&A, or in this case, generating a joke. So anyway, so I'll put this up on GitHub. I think it's useful, might be useful for some people, but definitely was fun to play with. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. See ya.